Welcome to this edition of Dufferin Life. I'm your host, Tina Avery. Thank you so much for tuning in. So there's a big event coming up in September, and you may or may not know about it already, but we're here to talk about it because it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to bring thousands of people to Dufferin County. It's going to bring tourism. It's going to give you some amazing experiences. And joining me to tell us all about it, we have Bill and Dawn from the International Plowing... I did it! I stopped! The International Plowing Match and Rural Expo. There we go.
Yes.
I promise I had this all worked out in my head, and when I went to say it, it just didn't work. So the International Plowing Match and Rural Expo coming up in September. Bill, tell us a little bit about what it's all about.
So the International Plowing Match and Rural Expo is an annual event when we don't have pandemics and wars and things like that. So the first one was held in 1913 at Sunnybrook Farms.
Okay.
So it's well under pavement at this point where the first plowing match was held, and it was originally held as a plowing match. It wasn't really a rural expo at that time, but certainly as it evolved, it became much more than a plowing match.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of entertainment and exhibits and all kinds of things for people
So
to
we
see.
can expect a plowing match.
Oh, yeah.
We can expect to go out and see some vendors and possibly some educational events, people learning about the rural side of living.
Absolutely. So we have 300 acres set aside for plowing. It's quite a big thing.
Okay.
There'll be people that plow professionally as a hobby, and they need to qualify at the plowing match to go to other plowing matches around Canada and in the world.
Okay.
And then there's all kinds of entertainment in the tented city. We have an RV park that's got 1,100 sites that are serviced for people to stay at if they want to stay right at the site. Every night there's entertainment. There's a big tent at the RV park, so there's entertainment every night. And there's entertainment at the tented city every day.
Amazing. So Dawn, tell me a little bit, well, let's start, we need to know when and where this event's happening. Can you tell us about that?
September 19th to 23rd, right in the town of Bowling Green, which is between Orangeville and Grand Valley.
Okay, because my next question was, where's Bowling Green? And I've lived here a long time, and I've been out to Grand Valley several times. But so this is a very big undertaking.
It's huge, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, we're in, or next week is National Volunteer Week. So is this something where, I would imagine something this size for 5 days, you would need volunteers?
Yes. We need about 700 volunteers, from parking cars to driving wagons, which are called wagon tours, picking up the people that park and taking them to the tented city or to see the plowing. We need people to make lunches. What else?
We have information booths. People man the information booths, and
gates and tickets.
We put up lots of snow fence for security reasons, primarily around the site. So the tented city is 80-some acres that we have to surround, and so is the RV park. I mean, the most important part of this is to get a bunch of cooperating farmers within a reasonable distance.
Okay.
So all these farms are within a couple of miles of each other, and most of them are right beside each other. So it's kind of a unique situation to have everything right together.
Okay, so what can people learn? Like, what, I mean, I know I can go out there and I can see a plowing match, but what am I going to learn about rural living?
So we have an education tent.
Okay.
With all our commodities, all our producer groups participate in there. You could see different types of livestock, how they're raised, different crops.
Okay.
That's one of the components, yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk about the different types of vendors, because are you still in need of vendors? Are you doing a call out for vendors, and what can we expect to see when we're coming out?
So the vendors are able to sign up now online. And it goes straight to the Ontario Plowmen's Association. They take care of that.
Okay.
Food booths. We have a lifestyles tent where there'll be maybe pottery or sewing.
So if people have their own business, big or small, they're able to come out and be a vendor and get some exposure?
Absolutely.
We have a quilting tent.
A quilting tent. Wonderful. That's amazing. That's a skill that I can't even sew, so I just, it's a phenomenal thing when you see a quilt all put together. It's a lot of work too. So when we're looking at the event itself, on average, how many people come out to the event?
So it depends. Last year, the event was in Kempville.
Okay.
And they had almost 70,000 people.
Wow.
So almost twice the number of residents that are in the county will come to this thing.
That's amazing. So that's an amazing tourism opportunity for Dufferin County.
For sure. There's all kinds of huge spin-offs for all businesses in Dufferin, from accommodation to food to shopping. It's restaurants. And yeah.
So I know you mentioned the RV park, and that's where... Do people come and stay for all 5 days if they're doing it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Lots of the people that come to the RV park, that's what they do. Every year they come to the RV park.
Okay.
So lots of them will come in on the Saturday before it starts. Starts on a Tuesday and ends on a Saturday, but lots of them will be there by the Saturday.
So it's an opportunity for everybody to get together that normally does this and normally comes out to it. So this is a once-a-year event?
Yes, once a year, yeah.
And so how did it come about that Dufferin County was able to host this event this year?
Well, we are friends with Kathy Lasby, that works for the Ontario Plowing Association, and I asked her one time how come Dufferin had never had a plowing match in Rural Expo, and she said we should work on that.
Well, that's amazing too, and people that are advocating for Dufferin County and for like farming in rural areas and what happens in there. And we do different things on the show where I've talked about it all the time about creating awareness and making people understand what's going on, because it's not an easy life being a farmer, is it?
There's a lot of long hours for sure, a lot of long days, and the day doesn't end until the job gets done, and well, it certainly isn't usually 5 o'clock for me.
Right.
For sure. I've had 700 baby lambs this winter, so there's been some long days for sure.
Wow, that's a lot of lambs.
Yeah.
And they're adorable too when they're little. That's absolutely amazing. So if somebody wanted to get involved as a vendor, as a volunteer, do they have to? Well, I know the vendors would have to be out there for all 5 days, but do volunteers have to be out there for all 5 days, or can they volunteer according to their schedule? How does it work?
Yeah, so they can work 1 day or 5 days, or they can help 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after probably.
Yeah,
but
I guess there would be a lot of setup involved in doing something like this.
Yeah, most of the people are doing 5-hour shifts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, it all starts, well, it's already all started, but the physical setup of Tenant City will start in July.
Right.
So that's when Ontario Hydro comes in. They're one of our major sponsors. They come in and start putting up poles. The Plowmen's Association owns a lot of wire and a lot of poles and a lot of pipe, and they have a...
Well, if they've been doing it that long, I would think they have a lot of it all worked out to make it a little bit more.
So it all starts in July, putting up the Tenant City, and they get the tent set up in August and get everything ready to go by the 19th.
So, I mean, one of the things, and we've talked about volunteering and Volunteer National Volunteer Week's coming up next week. So if you're looking for something new and fun to do, maybe this is the opportunity for you to volunteer. Is there an age requirement for volunteering?
They have to be 18, right? They have to be 18 years of age to volunteer. Unless they're with a group, like if they're with a youth group or whatever. So.
Yeah, and the high school kids can get volunteer hours.
Okay. Wonderful, because I mean that's a good opportunity for them, and a lot of these high school kids have probably never been on a farm.
Probably not. No. Yeah. One of the unique things we have is we have an egg showcase tent this year, and it's not always at every Rural Expo and Plowing Match, and we're going to have some livestock shows, so some 4-H kids are going to come and show dairy cattle and sheep and beef cattle, and then on the Thursday and Friday we're using that same facility to do a shearing competition as well. So.
So is that a contest on how fast one can shear?
That's part of it. Yeah, it has to. There has to be a certain amount of quality that they get all the wool off. They just don't buzz right over them. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So have you been farming all your life?
Not yet.
No.
No.
Well, I mean, you still got time to go. You got lots of time to go. Absolutely. Right?
Yeah. So I grew up on a farm just north of Primrose.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Farming sheep as well? Has that always been what you've done?
When I grew up, we had beef cattle and hogs.
Okay.
Is what we had. So we got sheep about 1980 or so.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. What about you, Dawn? How did you get involved in doing all this?
We also farm. We have a dairy farm and beef and sheep as well.
Okay.
And I was actually a Queen of the Furrow a few years ago. not that long ago.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, so there's about, I don't know, 20 contestants?
Yes.
There's going to be about 20 contestants in the Queen of the Furrow competition.
Okay.
So we have a gala on the Friday night, so that's when the Queen will be crowned.
Nice.
And this is where the quilting ladies get involved, because they produced one quilt for the Queen of the Furrow,
Okay.
and a quilt for the landowner where the tenant city is. So
Oh, that's amazing.
they're very beautiful quilts.
And I think that, I mean, you know, hats off to taking the initiative to advocate for Dufferin County. We really appreciate that, because I had never heard of this before. You know, I heard that it was coming to Dufferin County, and I'm always out there, you know, like, let's promote it. But I think that there's a lot to be learned about that type of lifestyle, a rural lifestyle, and farming and that sort of thing. I always tell the story, and I think I've probably told it here, about cows. And when growing up, my aunt had a barn that housed horses, and they had a cow, and his name was George. And I loved George. I so loved George. I would go and feed George and pet George, and, you know, scratchy tongues and whatever. And my aunt that owned, my aunt, God rest her soul, I loved her to pieces. A little bit crazy. I went to dinner one time. I think it was around Christmas time, and she said to me, "Do you know what you're eating?" And I was young, and she went, "George." I was devastated.
Yes, I was going to say,
Never good.
Georges don't milk, right? So they got to be good for something.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, a lot of it is, this is like a family event. Like, bring your kids, show them, like, you know, like, show them, you know, all these different things, and that they don't have the opportunity to see. And you know, it's coming here this year, it's coming in September, and you need to mark your calendars for it.
For sure, and the kids are welcome, for sure. I mean, the education tent that we have satisfies the grade 3 curriculum for agricultural education.
Okay.
So it's a great opportunity. We expect 10 to 15,000 school kids.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, because I guess they could plan school trips through the school, right? Because it's in September. I'm slowly catching on here how this is working and how you get all these people out there. But I mean, that's like, I mean, just for the local area alone, this is a phenomenal event. I mean, we're always promoting shop local, and I think a lot of the times is we don't think about where the food comes from, or where the milk comes from, or where, you know, when you're shearing, where the wool goes to. And I think that this is a prime opportunity to let even, you know, people old like me.
Well, it's being aware of where your food comes from, and there's lots of different crops and products get produced in Dufferin, and we're going to try and showcase that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're saying, like, there'll be different shops, and I'm sure there'll be people selling different things. I don't know what the season is in September, but I was going to say strawberries, but I know it's not strawberries.
It might be strawberries. So we do have a grower of strawberries in the county that specializes in having strawberries throughout the season.
Amazing.
So it is a possible thing to do in Dufferin County.
So I wasn't jumping ahead of myself saying strawberries.
No, for sure. For sure.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you both for joining us, and I want to invite you back to talk a little bit more about the entertainment in a little bit more detail as we get a little closer, so people who didn't watch tonight can still come out to the event. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.